college sports being such an untapped market for, if we stream softball and people watch, yes, of course, a softball player will be worth $1 million if she can dominate a game. As market inefficiencies are exploited in the business of sports and as kids and young people get devoured by it, when you see an 8th grader being paid to play football, like at what point are any one of the people listening willing to put a line on that's too far? Like that's too much childhood stolen in the name of business, paying an 8th grader to play football.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about private equity firms coming into college sports, which is outrageous how professionalized that's all or is becoming. But at this point in the article in the New York Times, it starts off by saying that the mother of this D.C. kid who is now in 8th grade, headed to the 9th grade at DeMatha, which is a sports powerhouse in that area, that she remembered when he was 10 years old that coaches of like youth rec football teams were giving her $1,000 handshakes in order to get a 10-year-old to go play football on his team. And I assume that some of the reason of that is ego, but also some of the reason for that is money. And I think the part of it is not that I'm arguing that these players are not that valuable or don't have value. They do have value. But the scary part is that they become commodities and they become stepping stones, which happens so often, and we're more accustomed to it with basketball players, which doesn't make it any better or worse, but they see a kid with some level of talent, and it's not necessarily like, let me help cultivate this kid's talent to get him to where he deserves. It's where can I springboard onto after I take some credit for making this kid something, because you'll get attention. You have the dominant kid on your 10-year-old football team. You're then using that to springboard your way into being a trainer for other kids who will never make it, but you're going to say, I'll make you just like that kid because I made that kid. Or into being a coach for one of these powers, into being a college coach. Like, that's the part that offends me. I understand child actors, child musicians, children with unique talents deserve to be compensated for it. The scary part is the same thing that happens in those industries starting to happen in one of the purer places, or the places that we feel are pretty pure. It's like youth sports. It's getting grosser and grosser, and I hate it.
I hear your perspective, and it's a very American one, but over in the UK, if you're 15 years old and you're a hot soccer talent, you can sign at the age of 15 for about 175 in wages, 175,000 in wages. So this is not without precedent, and they don't have these concerns across the pond.
Right. If you don't like it, Mike, you can leave. You want to go live in Europe? Beat it.
Show me your papers. Did you just love it or leave it for me? In the face of a good point, is that your default? This exists, and there aren't like the concern for the humanity of the children and the bleeding heart stuff that you're doing, which is it's very shocking to the American system. But these are if we're looking at these programs as actual pro programs, which they've been for a long time, then they're well within their rights to take an investment in a younger person, and that younger person is well within his rights to maximize his value.
No, I certainly appreciate the pushback, and I'm not going to pretend as if I'm an expert on international football rules. But
I mean, you were born in the UK.
I was born in the UK. Military base, baby. But my guess is that professionalizing at a young age has its drawbacks. Like I don't.
Oh yeah.
And I think that
some of these people are pretty dumb.
And I also think that they have a system that's designed to operate that way. We don't. We have a system that's very different. And so without the rules, that's the more concerning part. Like, again, I'm not an expert on that, but my guess is that there are some rules, but there are also very ugly things. Even though I don't know everything about it, I know that they raid countries that don't have the infrastructure and go pick out the athletes and then take them and exploit them. So, like, I'm not.
I work for one of these clubs. Chelsea had a very well-run, robust academy, and they had a scouting network that would go into other countries that did not have this infrastructure, and they would really boost their academy to the point of being one in the tops of the world.
So I appreciate, and on my show, Charlie does this a lot, where I fall into this easy, defensible stance as I'm the bleeding heart. I feel sorry for everybody, and I think it's fair to push back on that. I'm not in this position trying to say I'm a bleeding heart and feel sorry for everybody, but I'm saying that we cannot also close our eyes to the position that we're putting these players in. And so, okay, I get it. I want him. His mom said that her goal is for him to make $1 million by the time he's a ninth grader. I'm fine with that. That's a fine goal to have. And maybe it'll all work out for him. But what tends to happen in these situations is while there's a top few that we point to and we celebrate and we talk about how successful they were and how unique they are, there's a whole nother group that have to go through the grinding the machine, get injured or don't have the talent, and then end up on the other side without the resource that we had. And then we put them into these adult systems without having put the protections. Oftentimes those protections come after someone has failed, after someone's taken advantage of. So again, I don't want to pretend like I am only pointing out the issues with it. Like, I agree. I want these kids who have talent and have value to get paid. I don't want to go to a world where he's not getting compensated for the value that he's creating, but I also don't want to turn a blind eye to the human cost.
But when you make it this commercial, this greedy, this, I'm going to say distinctly American, Mike, even though you're saying, and correctly, okay, this is how they do it overseas or across the pond, for some reason, is the way that you decided to say it. And they do that with 14 and 15-year-olds. But the place that I would stop you, and I'm not saying that soccer doesn't also have its physical perils, Bo Nix played with a broken vertebrae. Like, this is a whole different machine.
Combat sport, not a contact sport.
So now that it's visible, you think that it exists? Or have you not watched high school basketball in this country?
Oh, no.
Okay, but football, come on.
Football, it's been happening, dude. It happens at private schools in low-ranked districts across America. Like, this happens all the time. The fact that it's actually transparent is not a bad thing. It is actually a better thing, I think.
No, and I'm not arguing against that at all. I'm just saying that as we go through this process, we have to acknowledge that these other things are happening. Saying that it happens in other sports or this is not new does not remove the fact that there are still perils in the situation. So, like, that's my point. I sincerely appreciate your pushback, but it's not an actual pushback. It's saying, like, oh, it's happening. So I know it's happening. That doesn't mean that everything about it is completely on the up and up. And I think having an academy system is probably more structured and probably protects the players more than now where it's a kid in a middle school in D.C. where you parachute in and promise him a bunch of things in hopes that you can use it to springboard yourself into some other strategy.
Do you think, I mean, we just mentioned with Customato the idea of the hell you can wreak on a great young athlete by just putting on him all of your adult ego shit. But when we're talking about, I don't know where I'd have to put the age for just us to get a consensus. Yes, I believe it is wrong to pay a 8-year-old.
And that's the thing. That's the hard part about the conversation. I don't ever believe it's wrong to pay somebody if they're valuable.
Okay, to play football. Okay, concuss yourself, 9-year-old.